Audio test 1, 2, 3. Good morning, everyone. This is Assistant Executive Officer TJ Knight. It is 9:58, and we should get started in approximately 10 to 12 minutes. I see some of the participants that are attending virtually. If Misha, you could unmute and confirm that you can hear me and provide some audio input on your end. And I'm not hearing you. Misha? No, that's not the right. So if one of our other attendees, who is Bureau Rep Quasi, if you would kindly unmute and just say good morning. I'm trying to confirm.
Good morning, TJ.
Hi, Quasi. Excellent. Thank you so much. Great.
TJ.
Oh, yes. Sorry about that, Quasi. Sorry, Quasi, I muted you while you were asking me something. Sorry about that. If you want to go ahead and unmute and continue what you were gonna ask, that'd be great. Good morning. At this time, is there anyone in our attendees list who would like to offer public commentary or comment on it? Good morning. At this time, I'd like to... Good morning, Dr. Williams. Can you hear me?
Hello? Goodbye.
Good morning, Dr. Williams. Good morning, Dr. Williams. Can you hear me? Good morning. At this time, are there any participants who would like to offer public commentary or comment on any of our items on today's agenda? If there are, if you would kindly unmute yourself and let me know your name for the record and what items you would like to speak on.
Hello?
Hi, Dr. Williams.
Hello?
Hi, Dr. Williams. Are you able to hear me?
Cannot hear anything. I'm going to recall. Going to recall. Going to recall.
Hi, Dr. Williams. I hear you. This is Udi Jimenez, TJ, checking in.
Hi, Dr. Williams. We can hear you. So if you'd like to identify the items that you would like to speak on, and if you would like to offer public commentary, I'm happy to take those notes at this time. And for everyone else, thank you for joining us in person, and thank you for the Bureau reps for joining us online. And we should get started in the next 7 or 8 minutes. Thank you.
Testing. This one works.
Did our microphones? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
One, two.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Excellent. Good morning, this is TJ Knight. Once again, for any of our attendees who are participating via Zoom, who would like to offer public commentary or commentary on any of our items, if you'd please unmute yourself, identify yourself and the items you'd like to speak on. I'll make notes of that now. Thank you.
Hello? I cannot see anything other than my name or my web address.
Dr. Williams,
Hello?
the meeting has not yet started.
Can't see anything. I can't. Hello?
Dr. Williams?
Add text.
I don't think it's that.
Dr. Williams,
Dr. Williams,
the meeting has not yet started.
Thank you.
Right about on time. Good morning, everyone in attendance in the board hearing room, and for the folks who are joining us virtually. I see our board reps and I see some attendees. If there's anyone in the attendee list who would like to offer a public comment or comment on any of our items, if you'd please unmute, identify yourself and the items you wish to speak on. This time, I will make a note of it. And seeing no one unmuting, identifying themselves, we're going to go ahead and make note of that. Thank you.
Ready, TJ?
Yes, good
Okay.
morning. We're ready to go. If you wish, I can go ahead and start the recording.
Yes, please.
Awesome. Very good. We're recording. We're in record mode.
Thank you, TJ. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting for the Board of Public Works for Wednesday, March 1st, 2023. TJ?
Good morning, Madam President. This is TJ Knight, Assistant Executive Officer, taking role in establishing quorum. President Garcia, Vice President Villegas, President Pro Tem Davis, Commissioner Corsand, and Commissioner Reyes are all present. We do have a quorum. We're also joined by City Attorney Representative Mr. Chad Jordan. Again, I'm Assistant Executive Officer TJ Knight. President Garcia, we have no speaker cards under public comment. We have no neighborhood council commentary and no speaker cards under any of our items this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Given that we do not have public comment is now officially closed. Moving on to the approval of the minutes for Wednesday, February 15, 2023. Is there a second to my motion to move this item forward and forthwith? Thank you, VP Villegas. TJ Knight, there's a first by me and a second by Vice President Villegas to move the approval of the minutes of Wednesday, February 15, 2023.
Very good. And we'll take a roll call vote, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
Commissioner Corsand.
Aye.
And, Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
And Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
Thank you. It's unanimous and passes.
Great, thank you very much. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to those that are here in person and to those that are joining us virtually. It's the 1st of March, everyone, and it's the first day of Women's History Month. So we'll have a lot of great women celebration throughout the month. Stay tuned for everything that's happening. So welcome, everybody. It's really nice to see not a full house, but maybe like a 3/4 full house in here. So thank you, everybody, on this nice, chilly morning. TJ Knight, we're going to start with our bids, if that's okay.
Very good.
Okay, let me read it into the record. Bids at 10 a.m. Bids will be received at 10 a.m. for the following public works project for sidewalk repair program package number 63 with a work order of E1909075 with an estimate amount of $2,433,415 in council districts 1, 5, 6, 10, 11, 14, and 15. Our second bid for today is a maintenance hole resetting work order SZC11264 for an estimate amount of $4,919,680 in council districts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And this morning, I'm going to turn it over to you, TJ, and Mr. Matthew Castellanos.
Thank you so much, Madam President. And we'll begin with sidewalk repair program package number 63. And we've received 4 bids on this project. And we'll start with Axiom Group. Axiom Group's total bid amount is $2,896,406.25. $2,896,406.25. Our second bid is from Geronimo Construction. It's taken us, I apologize for the delay, it's just taken us a moment to locate the total bid amount for Geronimo. Please stand by. Okay. We are an update to Geronimo's bid on our first bid is we cannot locate the total bid amount submitted with Geronimo's bid, so we will return to this after looking more in depth. And let's go ahead and move to the next bidder, Access Pacific.
Give us a few minutes, everyone. Thank you.
And the total bid amount for Access Pacific is $2,636,847.50. $2,636,847.50. And our next bid is from PPC Construction. PPC Construction's total bid amount is $2,194,994. $2,194,994. And so we've looked through the Geronimo's bid package, and we are unable to locate the document that contains the schedules and items that, and that document also contains the total bid amount.
Oh.
And we've checked the envelope as well, and we did not locate that document.
I don't think we've ever done this, that has ever happened before.
So will we delay that?
What, should we delay the bids? Mr. City Attorney?
No, we would just receive the bids as they are, and this bid is incomplete
Incomplete, okay.
from Geronimo.
Okay, thank you for that, okay.
We do have one more bid opening that we're going to conduct,
Okay.
and I'm sorry for the delays.
That's okay, this was on, this has never really happened before. TJ, so are we completed, have we finished package number 63 on bids?
Yes, we have.
Okay. Move on to package, the next one, estimate.
And the next bid opening is for maintenance hole resetting. And as you identified, President Garcia, it's work order number SCZ11264, and we have 2 bids on this project. And the first bid is from Lucas Builders Incorporated. And the total bid amount is $8,935,580. $8,935,580. And the second bid is from Manhole Adjusting Incorporated. Total bid amount of $7,900,375. $7,900,375. And that concludes the bid opening for our second bid opening of maintenance hole resetting.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. Colleagues, is there a motion on the table to accept and adopt item number 1? Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. Is there a second? Thank you, Dr. Davis. TJ Knight, there's a first by Commissioner Reyes and a second by Dr. Davis to accept and adopt today's bids.
Very good, and we'll take a roll call vote, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corson.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes. The motion carries unanimously. I'm
Great.
sorry,
Thank you very much.
The action carries unanimously. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. We do these live and on the spot here to make sure that it's a fair and open process, and this is just some of the things that happen, so apologies for that. Thank you, Mr. Castellanos, for your work this morning. Moving on to item number 2, this is a request from the Bureau of Engineering in all council districts, a task order solicitation number 2, EXP US Services, Inc., pre-qualified on-call consulting list, street improvement program, recommending the board to 1, authorize the city engineer to issue a task order to EXP US Services, Inc. for the pre-qualified on-call civil engineering services consultants list to provide program management support services for the street improvement program as stated in task order number 2 with a budget authority of $4,500,000. And this morning is this Arsen. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Arsen Voskerchen with the Bureau of Engineering. I'm the program manager for the Street Improvement Program in the Bureau of Engineering. And the report before you today is requesting authority to issue a task order to EXP for program management support services for a total budget authority of $4.5 million, including contingency. The Bureau's Street Improvement Program is responsible for the design, program management, construction management, overall delivery of over 100 active street improvement projects. That number actually has grown since the time of writing this report to over 120 active projects, valued currently over $500 million. At the time of this report, it was $400 million. And so our program is continually growing. The services that are being requested of us are continually growing. And so knowing this and knowing that there's more programmed and unprogrammed work coming towards us, additional services being requested from council offices, from elected offices, such as estimating, feasibility studies, and additional work from emergency situations that arise, we've determined that there is a need for us to secure services from a consultant to help us manage the program, provide project management services as well as construction management services, and as needed additional services, including design, cost estimating, scheduling, and other as-needed services for the program. And so the pre-qualified on-call civil engineering services list that was established for this purpose to provide services in times of high demand where our city staff is not able to keep up with the workload. And so we're asking for authority to execute that and use the pre-qualified on-call list to secure the services of this consultant to provide those support services that we need right now. The scope of this work under this task order solicitation is to provide program management support, which would include one project manager full-time as staff augmentation working with us in our office, as well as one construction manager full-time staff augmentation working with us in our office. In addition to that would be as-needed services, again, for design services where we need it, for cost estimating, for scheduling, for grant management support, as well as grant application support, and other services that we are going to need over the next year and a half. The term of this task order would be through the end of the current contract, which is scheduled to expire in October of 2024. And so as soon as we can get this started, we would start this work through the end of this contract. The structure of the services would be a combination of staff augmentation as well as needed services. And so where we, beyond the project manager and construction manager that we're bringing on initially, where we identify additional needs, we would work with the EXP to bring on those additional services. Those would be negotiated either as lump sum or as cost reimbursement as well. Again, the intent of this task order solicitation is to allow the program to augment the city staff with the consultants as needed on various projects. And so initially, this TOS will support the various projects that are listed in the status of funding section with the funding sources that are identified in this report right now. However, we are asking for the authority to be able to adjust and add on additional projects as the needs are identified through the life of the term of this task order. And so as we go, we hope that we'd be able to identify additional needs on projects that are not yet listed in this table, but that we'd be able to secure the services from this consultant on and add that to this task order as we go. And we would, of course, identify the funding sources for those as we go. And so a little bit about the process on this task order. In August of 2022, we issued a task order solicitation to all 26 firms on the pre-qualified on-call civil engineering services consultant list. And in September of 2022, the BOE received one proposal in response, and that was from EXP. The selection process included reviews and scoring of the proposal, their qualifications, and an interview presentation. We did reach out to other consultants on the list to see why they did not propose for this. Some of the responses we received were because they either did not have the resources available to provide the additional services, or they did not have the breadth and depth of the expertise that we were looking for in this type of a task order. And so after review of the written proposal, we interviewed the team provided by EXP. The panel on the interview consisted of various divisions throughout the Bureau because this was a wide-ranging task order. And we asked the consultant to propose the team, present the team, their expertise, their knowledge, their experience to see how it would fit within our needs. And so we interviewed and we found that the team they were proposing does meet the qualifications. We believe they are able to provide the services that we are asking for. And so in the TOS, we identified selection criteria, which were based on the capability of the project team in providing the scope of services, the success in the history of the team, the project team's knowledge and understanding of the city requirements, and the project understanding as demonstrated by their solicitation response. And so although there was one proposal received, after a thorough review and interview of the team, we believe they are capable of providing the services, and so we recommend proceeding. The consultant did propose to meet all of the business inclusion program requirements. However, we do want to note that initially we're going to be starting off with staff augmentation, and that'll consist of the project manager and construction manager. And so the ability to meet the goals of the business inclusion program will largely depend on what additional services we ask for. The project manager and construction manager initially will be from EXP, the prime consultant, and any additional services that we ask for, that's where we're going to look to the sub-consultants and try to utilize and meet the business inclusion needs. And so largely the percentages of utilization, the actual utilization will depend on what services we ask for as we go. And so initially, we've identified several projects that we are going to be asking this consultant to support us on. Those projects are listed in the status of funding section. We've also identified additional funding sources that are provided through the budget, such as for active transportation projects, Vision Zero projects, Great Streets projects, where there's amounts set in the budget for consultant support, contractual services, but the amounts are not large enough to warrant separate task orders to be issued for those. And so we're asking to be able to use those funding sources on this task order for the projects that are related to those programs. And so we have several active transportation projects that we're working on. And so we're going to be asking this consultant to support us on those projects using the funding that's available through the budget already. So the total budget authority we're asking for is $4.5 million. About half of that has already been identified for funding in projects that are already available. The remaining half, we're asking for the authority to be able to identify those projects as we go, as the need arises, with the funding sources to be identified as well as we go. Of course, we would not issue the notice to proceed until we secured funding and have council appropriations for the funding sources already. And so we're asking for the authority as well to be able to adjust the actual accounts that we use to pay for the invoices on this task order as we go, because this is going to be a task order that spans over about 1.5 years to the end of this contract. And we have projects identified initially and are looking to add projects as we go. We're asking for that authority to be able to identify which accounts to use to pay for the invoices as we go. This will help us in being able to pay the consultant on a timely basis as we go through the task order. And again, our intent of this is to be able to deliver the projects, fill gaps where there are gaps currently in our projects. We have projects where there's certain design elements that we need to complete, and these projects may already be in construction, and so it's critical that we get those completed fast and get it moving. And so this will allow us to use this task order to close those holes, close those gaps, and be able to proceed with the work in order to avoid any additional impacts to those projects. This will not take away from other task order solicitations that we put out. We still intend on putting out additional task order solicitations for large projects and actual new projects that we start up. So this will not take any opportunities away from other consultants that are on our pre-qualified on-call list. The consultant that we're asking to award this task order to, EXP, we have not yet worked with. This is the first task order that they are taking on this contract, which is a good thing. We do want to expand our partnerships on this contract while the contract is still in place. And so we're excited and we're hopeful to work with a new consultant, see what expertise and knowledge they can share with us and bring onto the team, and hopefully establish a partnership with this consultant company moving forward. And so again, it will not take away from any other opportunities for other consultants to do work on our contracts. This will just allow us to finish off some of the projects that we've already started, where we have gaps or we have immediate needs. And so we're asking for the authority and the flexibility in this task order to do so. And so with that, that concludes my report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Arsen, for your very thorough report. I see Dr. Davis and then Vice President Villegas.
I wanted to ask you, in terms of this particular task, it presented itself because our staff were overloaded. Is that what you said?
Yes, that's correct.
Now, in terms of the individuals that we have on our staff, they are project managers, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you happen to know where we are generally in terms of the numbers of project managers we have? Is there a gap in the numbers of project managers that we have available to hire, to your knowledge?
Yes, to that point, we have on average about 15 projects assigned to each of our project managers currently. The construction value of that is about $70 million worth of construction that's assigned to each of our current project managers. We have approximately 5 project managers right now in our program that are working on these projects. And so for these, to be able to manage 15 projects at once is a very big challenge. Sure. We are also challenged with filling positions that we do have vacant for project managers. We are actively trying to fill positions that we have available. However, it is a challenge to fill positions and keep those positions filled. There's a lot of movement throughout the city right now, and it's a challenge to keep those positions filled.
Do you have a knowledge of the ballpark figure of how many unhired project manager positions we have?
In our program, in our division, currently we have 3 project manager positions that we are trying to fill, with another 5 that are already filled. And so the ones that we have filled, those project managers are balancing out our workload, and that's where about 15 projects are assigned to each one of those project managers.
Yeah, I do understand that, but my concern as we think about gap analysis is the urgency of now to fill those other 3 project manager positions, because that's critically important. And I would like to see the Bureau spend time making that a priority.
Yes, definitely, sir. We are currently interviewing for 2 of those positions as we speak this week.
We have 3, right?
Yes,
2 is not 3.
yes,
We need to have 3, and it needs to be a priority.
understood.
I understand our economic worth and our economic value in the Southern California economy. I support the fact that we provide opportunities for contractors and prime contractors, and we should, and we always will. But at the same time, I don't feel enough emphasis has been put on making the priority fulfilling the jobs
Hello?
that have been.
Hello? Hello?
Dr. Williams, go ahead, Ted.
Dr. Williams, we're in the middle of the item now. We have not called upon you when, at the appropriate time, if you wish to make a comment on this item, you will be called upon. But for the time being, if you could please mute your microphone and just wait for us to call upon you. Thank you.
I think that it's important for us to make those items within the government, within the city, a priority. It's serious, and it's something that we should do, and it's something that we ought to successfully complete. Again, you know, we have plenty of work, and we always will, and I support who we are economically in the Southern California economy. But what I want to do as a board member in terms of looking at gap analysis is make sure that we take more seriously these vacant positions, because that's a part of the gap analysis as well. And this ought to be something, hopefully, that in the future we might be having the capabilities to do ourselves. And there is still going to be plenty of work
Hello?
for our consultants to handle. Notwithstanding all of that, certainly I think that what you have presented to us is important to fill the larger gap, given where we are with not having filled all of our positions. Then now we do need our consultants, and the strategy that you have discussed with us seems to be a reasonable strategy, but I'm thirsty to make sure that we do a better job at filling those positions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're just getting a notice, and I just want to, TJ, if you can handle this, that we're getting a notice that folks on Zoom cannot hear us. So I don't know if we can double check that. But Arsen, can you, give us a second? Just going to make sure that people on virtual are also able to hear us.
Sure.
Thank you, President.
Seffi can be a good,
Thank you, President Garcia. I did conduct an audio check earlier prior to the meeting actually starting, and Mr. Quasi Burko was able to indicate that he could hear me, and he provided audio input. Seffi, if you would kindly unmute yourself. Seffi Wiles is our Bureau rep from the Bureau of Contract Administration. If you're able to unmute yourself, if you're listening, and just provide feedback as to whether you can hear me or you can hear us.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Seffi, can you hear us? And can you provide feedback back to us?
I guess not.
Or Mr. Burko, Mr. Quasi Burko, if you're able to unmute yourself.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Dr. Williams, give us a minute. We're doing a test, audio test. So, Seffi, can you hear us? And can you provide feedback back to us?
I don't think she can.
Yes, good morning, President Garcia. I hear you loud and
Mr.
clear.
Burko, Mr.
Thank you very
Quasi
much.
Burko, if you're able to unmute yourself.
Hello? I just did that.
So I have muted everyone. It's likely that someone has a device, a secondary device, listening to the meeting, and there's a slight delay, which tends to cause echoes in our chambers. If everyone would kindly make sure that you're only listening to the meeting on one device, and make sure that your second device is muted. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for that, and I apologize for the interruption, Arsen and Dr. Davis. I just, we were having messages coming in from the virtual world saying that they couldn't hear us. So we wanted just to make sure that everybody, this is a public meeting and everybody is welcome to hear us. So I don't know if your interchange concluded, or was it your turn to respond, Arsen?
I believe it was a
I think-
comment. I don't know if there was an outstanding question there, Dr. Davis. If there is, I'll be happy to answer.
Yes, no, I just made my statement about my original concern overall organizationally,
Yes.
what I'd like to see as a priority, and I think you did hear what my concerns were.
Definitely, and we will focus on filling our positions, yes, definitely.
Correct. Thank you very much. Vice President Villegas?
Thank you. I won't prolong this much longer. Thank you, Arsen, for your report. Just from the pre-qualified list, I think it's the civil design services.
Yes.
It looks like it expires in 2024. Were you all looking to renew that?
Yes, currently the 26 contracts under this list are set to expire in October of 2024. We are now starting the process of amending those contracts. We are going to be asking for amendment of 5 years, to add 5 years to those contracts. However, we're still early on in that process, and so this is very preliminary.
Okay. All right, thank you. And then just for clarification, you said that you'll be adding more projects, right, to this?
Yes. So currently, the projects that are listed are the projects that we have needs on immediately right now, and so we've identified those projects and the funding sources to go with that. We've requested additional funding and the authority for new projects in this upcoming fiscal year's budget, and so we expect there will be more projects coming our way. And so there's going to be a need moving forward to add additional services, and so that's where we're looking to add as we go.
Okay, and you'll be adding additional funding, I assume, from various grants?
Yes, there'll be grant funding sources as well as local funding sources that are coming along with our projects. And so we would identify funding that's been appropriated for those projects before we issue the NTP for these additional services.
Okay, and then, but this particular one already has some projects identified, not the entire 4.5 million?
Correct, about half of that is identified.
Okay, and so we will approve you're requesting for us to approve today's item with this consultant that's new. I was able to review it as well. And requesting for a work not to exceed amount of 4.5 million.
Yes, that's correct. We're asking for a total budget ceiling on this task order of 4.5 million. We've identified about half of that in projects and funding sources already,
Okay.
and so we would identify the additional projects as we go.
Okay, and then once you need to raise the ceiling, you'd come back?
Yes, of course. If we were going to go over that $4.5 million budget authority, we would come back to your board for authority.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Villegas. I don't see any other questions, but before we move on and close this item, since we've had a little bit of technical difficulties with our virtual platform, I'm going to see if there's anybody that wants to make a public comment on item number 2.
Thank you, Madam President. I do see a hand raised by C.T. Williams, and if you would kindly unmute yourself at this time, if you can hear me, and identify yourself for the record, and then you'll be given 2 minutes if you would like to make public commentary on this item. And also for the record, I did attempt to establish communication with this user earlier prior to the meeting actually starting and being recorded, and it seemed as though his device was not picking up what I was saying to him. So it could be an issue where he might want to drop off the meeting and rejoin, and perhaps that would establish the communication, or join via the Zoom link that's provided on our agendas.
Okay, well, we'll give him the opportunity now. Dr. Williams, are you ready to
Hello?
speak on this item? Dr. Williams.
Well, we are on the
Hello?
item. If you can hear me, you have 2 minutes to offer your public comment.
Hello?
Dr.
Can't
Williams,
hear anything.
Dr. Williams, you have 2 minutes to speak on item number 2.
Can't hear anything.
Okay, well,
Dr. Williams, I don't believe the board has started yet. Please stand by.
Uh,
I'm not sure if you can hear me, Dr.
Glad
Williams.
it's hybrid.
I think we're gonna, Dr. Williams, your time to speak on item number 2 is now. If not, I will close public comment. I'm hearing none. Is there somebody else that wants to speak on public comment on item number 2? General public comment has been closed. Do I see any other hands, Ted or TJ?
No other hands raised.
No other hands
among
raised?
the attendees.
Okay, we're going to close public comment for item number 2 now. Moving on, we were right in the middle of deliberation, so colleagues and commissioners, is there a motion on the table to move item number 2 forward and forthwith?
So move.
Thank you, Vice President Villegas. Is there a second? Dr. Davis, did I hear a second from you? Dr. Davis seconds. TJ, there's a first by Vice President Villegas and a second by Dr. Davis to move item number 2 forward and forthwith.
Very good, Madam President. We'll take a roll call vote, starting with you.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corsan.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes, and the motion is adopted and carries forthwith.
Thank you so much, TJ. Apologies. Thank you, Arsen. Have
you.
a good rest of the week.
Thank you.
Apologies for these little technical issues. We'll get it together, making sure that everybody has their time to speak. Moving on to item number 3, this is a request in Council District 14 for a street closure, 7th Street Streetscape Improvement Project. Recommending the board to, 1, authorize a temporary 2-phase full closure of 7th Street from Los Angeles Street to Spring Street starting March 9th, 2023 and ending June 9th, 2023 for the construction of the 7th Street Streetscape Improvement Project. And right before I turn it over to you, Mr. Wong, let me just double check if there's anybody that wants to do public comment on item number 3.
And once again, if there are any participants joining us virtually on the Zoom platform, please raise your hand if you would wish to offer comment on item number 3. Please raise your hand at this time, unmute, and identify yourself, and you'll have 2 minutes to offer commentary. And there are no hands raised.
Very well. Public comment for item number 3 is now officially closed. And with that, we have good morning, sir. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, commissioners. My name is George Huang. I'm the senior engineer with the Bureau of Engineering. Today, the item before you is the closure for the 7th Street. We're just completing our 3rd phase of the closure on this project. And now we're here to request the board for approval of the 4th phase of the closure. And with me, I'm joined by Ms. Winnie Lam, and she's a project manager on the 7th Street Improvement Project, and she'll give a little bit of background about the project and the closure itself. Thank you.
Good morning. Winnie Lam with the Bureau of Engineering, Street Improvement Division. For this project, I'm going to tell you about the background. The 7th Street Streetscape is a $12 million multimodal transportation enhancement project, which will increase safety and mobility for non-motorized users by increasing the proportion of trips accomplished by biking and walking. The project's first of the 2 phases is from Figueroa Street to San Pedro Street. The scope of work spans 13 blocks, which include protected bike lanes with concrete curb, 13 bus islands, 65 pedestrian lights, and 46 new trees. Construction started at San Pedro Street on April 21st, 2022, and continues westward up to Figueroa Street. The anticipated construction end date is the early 2024. Our current road closure number 3 is from Maple Avenue and Los Angeles Street. It's expected to complete by March 10th, 2023. So for this 3rd road closure in about 10 days. The road closure number 4 will be performed in 2 phases. For this board report, we have phase 4A and 4B, and spanned 2 street blocks from Los Angeles Street to Spring Street. But all major and local streets intersecting 7th Street will remain open to vehicular traffic. You can look at Figure 1. Figure 2, the Phase 4A street closure will be implemented first, Access will be open to the street alley, the private property driveway, and of course, entrance to all the businesses. Upon completing the 4A street closure area, it will be restored for vehicular traffic. And then Phase 4B street closure will subsequently be implemented. The two-phase approach will mitigate traffic circulation impact and allow the contract work to proceed with efficiency. And it supports and expedites concurrent work being performed by Los Angeles Department of Water and Power and Bureau of Street Lighting. Council Office 14 has been briefed and support the proposed street closure plan. The contractor would need to set up and remove temporary traffic control daily. Will not need to, so that's the beauty of having a road closure. And concentrate on the effort on the construction improvement work faster and more efficiently. There have been 4 public outreach efforts to date. The latest outreach was done on January 31st of this year to notify businesses of this new Phase 4 and Phase 4B. Upon the adoption of this board report, the city staff would be updating the BOE project website, and email blasts will be sent out to provide an update. This concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Tam, for your report. Any questions, colleagues? Seeing none, is there a motion on the table to move item number 3 forward and forthwith? Thank you, Vice President Villegas. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. TJ Knight, there's a first by Vice President Villegas and a second by Commissioner Reyes to move item number 3 forward and forthwith.
Very good. We'll take a roll call vote, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Corsan.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
That's all ayes, and the motion passes and forthwith.
Thank you.
Thank you.
5 and 6, okay. Thank you very much, TJ Knight. Thank you so much, Ms. Tam and Mr. Wong for this morning. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of the week. Okay, colleagues, moving on to item number 4. Before I start item number 4, I just want to open it up for any public comment. Is there any public comment for item number 4? And I'm going to wait a little longer because I heard there was a slight delay on the virtual platform.
And so for any participants who are joining us via Zoom, if you would kindly raise your hand at this time and unmute yourself and identify yourself for the record. And no one is raising their hands.
Thank you, TJ. I'm going to give it just tiny more seconds before I close public comment. It's full of interruptions this morning. It usually doesn't run like this. Okay, we don't see any hands come up, right, TJ Knight?
That is correct. There are no hands raised in the virtual
Okay.
platform.
Public comment for item number 3, for item number 4 is now officially closed. This is a request from the Bureau of Sanitation in Council District 14 for a gate rate adjustment, Central Los Angeles Recycling and Transfer Station, recommending the board to, 1, authorize the Director of Bureau of Sanitation to adjust the gate fee rates of the Central Los Angeles Recycling and Transfer Station starting January 1st, 2023. And this morning we have Ms. Flores here who will do our presentation. Welcome, Ms. Flores.
Hi, Commissioner. Good morning, and City Attorney and Executive Officer and the rest of the commissioners. My name is Tania Flores. I'm one of the engineers that oversees the operations at the Central Los Angeles Recycling and Transfer Station, or CLARTS for short. We currently operate as a processing site where we transfer all of the trash that is consolidated on site. And this includes the municipal solid waste collected around the city, which includes the black bin material from residents, green bin material, which is organic waste, and also private or commercial waste from paying customers. So on April 23, 2004, the City Council adopted the Environmental Quality and Waste Management and Personnel Committee's report recommending the approval of gate rates for transfer, hauling, and disposal of non-city collected solid waste to be adjusted on an as-needed basis to maintain full cost recovery. And CLARDS charges prevailing gate fees to paying customers for processing their private waste. Fees have been continuously adjusted since 2015 to recover operational and maintenance costs at the facility. And this past year in 2022, due to a consumer price index increase of 5% in hauling rates, a 28% increase in fuel rates, a 6% increase in landfill disposal fees, and an increase in security cost at the facility, we have to adjust the gate fees for our paying customers once again. So LA Sand is recommending the gate fee to be increased by $4 to enable CLARDS to maintain existing operations and achieve full cost recovery. The gate rate fee would go from $75 to $79 per ton of waste, and for difficult to handle waste, it would go from $85 per ton to $89 per ton. And this has no impact on the general fund. The recovered costs will be deposited into the CLARDS special fund. That concludes my presentation, if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Flores, for your report. I see Vice President Villegas' light is on. I have a couple questions myself as well, but I'm gonna let Vice President and Commissioner Reyes go first.
Thank you. Just a few questions. The process to which to do this is for cost recovery or just because of CPI?
For cost recovery, and this is for paying customers or that are bringing in their private waste. So it's because we have an increase in everything in terms of processing the waste.
Okay.
So it's not just CPI, it's the fuel, added cost to our security on site.
Okay, and communication to the public, how was that made?
We usually, after we come to the board and receive approval, we post it on site. There's no prior.
There's no prior, okay.
No.
So folks that would come in the past, they probably would be charged a certain rate, and so now they're going to be...
There's a notice that gets sent out after the approval of the new rate.
Okay. All right, so when, I am concerned that folks would be surprised, but it's the, I guess, cost of doing business. Are these rates posted on your website?
We don't have a website. They're posted on site. We have a screen.
Okay. Can we post them on our website?
Yes.
I mean, I know other landfills, other transfer stations post theirs on their website, so just
Yes.
for transparency purposes, I would recommend to post them somewhere where they're easily accessible, since there's no, I guess, no prior notice to the public.
Yes, we have a page, but it's just generic information of the facility. We don't have the gate rate there, but we will post it.
Okay, all right. All right, and that was it for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Villegas. Commissioner Reyes?
So my question is on capacity. You mentioned that organics is also being sort of like processed there, right, at CLARDS?
Transferred.
Or transferred. Do we now, with the increase in the cost, are we also taking into consideration that there will be more because we do have our organics campaign going on? Has that been taken into consideration?
The limit that we have for transferring organics right now, I believe it's around 300 tons per day. That's the limit that we have for the space that we have for transferring the organics.
So if there is more that's coming because we have a campaign, where do they go?
They are processed by contractors, and they were sent to different transfer stations.
And they know that? they know to do that if we have reached our limit?
That's right.
Okay. That's all I want to know, that they're not turned away because we do want our program to succeed, that there are other transfer stations that will accept them.
Right, no, for organics, that's only for city-collected green bin material, and those tonnages are allocated through a different contract, and different project managers, you know, they know what the limits are for each facility.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, colleagues? So just to be clear, how did you, I hear, you know, the 5% on the hauling, 28% on the fuel rates, 6% on the landfill. How did you guys come up with those percentages?
So I'm the contract manager for the hauling contracts for Clarets. So based on the invoices, I can see what the increases are and what our added costs are on site. We also have our admin division who calculates all the numbers based on the tonnage coming in, coming out, and the increase in salaries of our paid employees and everything else. So all of that is accounted for. And they come up with the new gate rate that needs to be charged in order for us to cover all of the operating costs. So that's done on a yearly basis. We account for all of that.
Okay, when was the last time we had a rate increase?
Last year, 2021.
So this is, what was the increase last year versus this year?
I believe the last increase, I don't have, well, it's on the board report actually, let me see. Last time it went from $73 to $75. So it was a $2 increase the previous time I came.
And are we anticipating doing another rate increase next year as well?
Hopefully inflation will come down and we don't have to, but I'm not sure yet. We need to do the calculations.
Yeah. So when does this take effect?
As soon as you approve it. Unfortunately, we don't backtrack or retroactively charge our customers for January, but
I would not recommend that at all.
Right.
Actually, the opposite. I would want you to give a heads up to the folks that are coming in and not go from one day to another having a rate increase, because these are folks that some of these public folks are, this is their livelihood, so now they're going to get increased $4. So I would recommend, and by the way, I did not get briefed on this, so I really appreciate it if you guys would have made an effort to contact the president and brief me on something like this. I know that this is important and we have to move it forward, but I don't appreciate here with a rate increase in public without being reached out to the president. So in the future, and I don't know if this is Domingo on your shop or whose shop it is, but please make sure that I get briefed on something like this. And I hope the commissioners got briefed as well.
I'm sorry, yeah, I think you weren't able to make it that day.
I know,
with
but then
Commissioner
you
Reyes.
reach
I'm
out
sorry, I
again.
apologize. Right.
You would have to reach out again to do
Right.
that, okay? This is fairly important, and I'm concerned that from the moment that we approve it today, there's going to be an increase on the gate, and so folks starting tomorrow will see that. I would actually say that you give it at least 15 days of notice that there's going to be a rate increase so that folks do not get a sticker shock when they walk in.
Right. Usually, we try to come to board in November, and the gate rate, the new gate rate takes into effect the following year. But due to a lot of backtrack that we have in sanitation, we weren't able to come to board until today.
Even so, that's more of a reason why you need to give folks a heads up.
Right.
So
Usually we do.
I
Usually
know,
there is a heads
but
up.
what I heard today was that after it gets approved, then the rate increase will happen. And so what I'm saying is that we're not giving our public enough notice so that they know that there's going to be a rate increase. And whatever reason you guys didn't come in November, and that's, you know, we're now in March technically, you guys could have come in December, January, anytime around that time to make this happen. So I am against you going back and doing it immediately. You have to at least give 15-day notice for folks to just know that there's going to be a rate increase.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments, colleagues?
Yeah, I have
Vice President Villegas.
one more question. I see just on the report, the board report, you've had increases in 2020, 2021, and then 2022, and then now 2023. Is there proposed changes for next year?
Like I said, it just depends on our operating cost. Hopefully, they stay the same.
Okay. And so in the last 3 years, we've done at least a $9 increase.
That's correct.
Okay. And I'm going to ask something that I've asked in the past, but I propose that you work with Council District 14. What is the betterment or the benefit to the community?
There is a $1 per ton. I believe that is inputted into the City Council's, there's like a special fund that is connected towards that.
Yeah, and has that increased?
I don't know. I don't think so, though.
Okay, and I see these, increases for, for fees. Is there an increase for community benefit? I guess it hasn't changed, but I'm recommending that you work with Council District 14 to address that issue.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if Miguel, you wanted to add on to that community.
Good morning, Commissioners and Bureau of Representatives. Miguel Cermeno, Assistant Division Manager for Processing Construction Division. We oversee CLARTS. And to address the question to Commissioner Villegas, the answer is no. There's a community trust fund that has been $1 since the beginning. So no, we have not. That dollar has not increased. We had communications with City 14 to talk about a potential increase to the community. So we had those initial conversations, but we have not come out to a final decision of how much increase would take place.
Okay. I'm just trying to make the analogy, we're increasing fees and community rates still staying the same after many years. We haven't caught up. And as you know, everybody uses CLARTS, it seems, and there's a bunch of, wear and tear on our streets. The condition to that area is obviously like a hub for these big, for community and for big trash trucks to come in. So it causes, just a lot of particulate matter. So I'm just trying to attain and get to more betterments for the community. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Miguel, I will tell you the same message as well. Please make sure that you reach out next time, proactively.
Definitely, we heard you, Commissioner. We'll definitely, if in the future we need to come back, we'll get you heads up with plenty of time before.
Thank you.
Before.
And as a matter of fact, if you guys can follow up with my office, please, I want to set up a post briefing now, but I want to know more information on just on everything on CLARTS.
Sure, no problem.
All right, colleagues, anybody else? Commissioner Reyes?
I just want to piggyback on your suggestion, President Garcia, on the 15-day notice for sanitation to adopt that as a standard from now on, that any time there is a price increase or any modification, that 15-day advance notification should take place.
Noted, Commissioner Reyes. We'll go ahead and incorporate that in our board report to make sure it's noted and documented.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other questions, Commissioner Corson?
I don't. Well, I have a question for the board. I was briefed, and it was a good briefing, I thought. But hearing the feedback, could we then modify, and instead of going with the recommendation to approve it, starting today or tomorrow, can we add an additional motion that essentially says it starts April 1st, the fee?
I'm comfortable with that. It will be 30-day notice, which is probably appropriate. Colleagues, any objections to Commissioner Corson's amendment? None, I think we're all good with that. So I suggest you put a sign at the door, since that's the way you communicate to your clientele. And like Vice President Villegas also just suggested, maybe on the website. You do have a Bureau of Sanitation website, and it's a pretty large website. So maybe there's a banner on it that you can start letting those.
We'll go ahead and incorporate that, Commissioner. It's not very difficult just to add one line item and set,
Okay.
the prices. We'll definitely will.
Okay, so
do that.
Commissioner Corson has suggested to add a 30-day notice. So today's March 1st, you would start on your new rate April 1st.
Okay.
Are we, any objections to that? No.
Clear. So,
Clear.
TJ?
As amended?
you would make-
Yeah, we'll put it as amended. So to recommendation number 1, we are amending that the rates increase start April 1st, 2023.
Got it.
All right, colleagues, any other questions? Yes,
Just
TJ.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Madam President. Just for the record, let me read into the record the entire recommendation that the board is going to vote on. Authorize the Director of the Bureau of Sanitation to adjust the gate fee rates at the Central Los Angeles Recycling Transfer Station starting January 1st, 2023, as amended to state the new rates shall go into effect on April 1st, 2023.
Thank you. Thank you, TJ. Is there a motion on the table to approve item number 4 as amended?
So moved.
Oh, sorry.
I'll second.
I'll take Commissioner Reyes and then Vice President Villegas. TJ Knight, there's a first by Commissioner Reyes and a second by Vice President Villegas to move forward forthwith item number 4 as amended.
Very good. We'll take a roll call vote, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corsan.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
Very good. The item is approved unanimously and passes forthwith as amended.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Look forward to talking to you both. All right, colleagues, moving on. No, I think, I'm sorry, that
I think that window's
yeah,
open.
Chief Harris, would you mind closing that huge window by the door over there? It's yeah.
Cold.
We're going back to 15 degrees in here again.
No.
No, it's behind you. I said today has been the best day of interaction. Not only that, but now we have an open window. Thank you, Chief Harris, and I almost feel like there's one open back here. All right, moving on to item number 5, and before I read it into the record, we have public comment on item number 5 by Mr. Arnold Sachs.
Yes, we do. Mr. Sachs, if you're in the room, please approach the podium. You'll have 2 minutes to offer your commentary.
Sorry, what was that?
Yes, Mr. Sachs, you have 2 minutes to offer your commentary on item 5. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Item 5 refers to sidewalks and transit amenities program. There's no budget listed for this program. It's mentioned all CD districts. So there's no number of sites that is mentioned. There was a previous contractor, J.C. Deco, that was doing work on some of these amenities. Are they still involved with these bus bench transit amenities? And can you define a sidewalk? I understand a sidewalk is defined as a right-of-way. And this "and" is very, very troubling. Is it inclusive or exclusive? I've run into that problem in the county where the A-N-D, becomes exclusive. It's not inclusive of both the sidewalk and transit. And what are the transit amenities? Do they include the signs or do they include the bus benches? Because item number 6 refers to bus bench revenue, bus benches. So what exactly are the amenities? Are they working with Metro to install those signs that would let people know when buses are coming up? Because very few bus stops or have those electronic billboards inside to notify you when buses are arriving. And it's very helpful to a lot of people. Also, they're missing a lot of trash cans around these signs. the bus bench revenue. Also, there's a lot of people camped out at these bus stops because there's a lack of homeless amenities. So I'm wondering, it seems that we have the cart leading the horse.
2 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs.
Thank you, Mr. Sack.
Before we move forward, I'm sorry to interrupt you, President Villegas. We do have a caller who has raised their hand. If you want to, for me
Yeah, I was going to
attend
call on anybody that wants to speak on public comment on item number 5 on our virtual platform.
Very good. We do have a user, C.T. Williams. If you would kindly unmute yourself and identify yourself for the record, you'll have 2 minutes to offer commentary.
Hi, Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council, Sierra Club, and a few others. And I've been waiting to get any sound from this site till 11:06. I've been watching sometimes, and I'm quite concerned regarding the hybrid nature of the comments because I wanted to comment on items number 1 and 8 and a general public comment. So I don't know what has happened. So regarding 5, again, is there any ADA compliance involved in this? Because I have been led around many times and I cannot find anyone who will assume responsibility for ADA compliance on any sidewalk, on any facilities within the right-of-way, and I'm trying to find who's in charge of ADA compliance and enforcement, because I have a long list of curb cuts that haven't been done in downtown LA and other locations, such as Eagle Rock, such as El Sereno. So I'm quite concerned regarding this whole hybrid situation, but also the ADA situation. I am requesting that the contract documents and all correspondence be made available, accessible online somewhere within the next 2 weeks for item number 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. That concludes public comment on item number 5.
Thank you, TJ. Public comment for item number 5 is now officially closed. Moving on, Bureau of Street Services, it is in all council district, a revised sidewalk and transit amenities program, Transito Vector LLC, recommending the board to 1, reconsider and approve the revised sidewalk and transit amenities program, proposed program element installation and site preparation locations previously approved by the Board of Public Works on December 16, 2022. And recommendation number 2, authorize and permit Transito Vector LLC, STAP's contracted service provider, to perform site preparation work and install program elements at locations indicated on the adopted list of proposed STAP installations. And this morning we have Mr. Lance Assini here. Good to see you, sir. Welcome.
Good morning. Lance Owishi with the Bureau of Street Services, and I'm here to report on our sidewalk and transit amenities program. Back in October of 2022, the City Council and Mayor approved our contract with Transito Vector for our sidewalk and transit amenities program, which is a program that provides transit shelters and other amenities for bus riders on our sidewalks. As part of that contract process, every year we're supposed to prepare a list of proposed sites where we will be potentially installing new transit furniture. And so we pursued that effort during the fall of 2022, and in December of 16th, as you mentioned, we appeared before your board to request the board's authority and permission to move forward with those sites that we had vetted. And by the way, that includes also going out to council offices and posting those sites on our website. And so the information is available to the public via Streets LA's website. So when we did come before the board in December, we were at that time going through a change order of several different council offices because of the recent elections. And the recommendation at that time was for the Streets LA to return to the 5 new council members to allow them time to consider those same lists proposed for their council districts and provide any adjustments, and then return to the board for reapproval for those 5 council districts. Those 5 council districts are council districts 1, 5, 11, 13, and 15. And so Streets LA did exactly that. Following the December meeting, we met with all 5 council offices. We were very fortunate from the perspective that many of the council offices, even though the elected official changed, the staffs remained the same. And so many of the council staffs that we met with, they were already familiar with the program, they were familiar with the lists, and they quickly approved the lists. That being said, we did have some changes that were made to the list from between December and today. Some of those changes were actually for a couple of projects that we were made aware of between December 16th and today. One of them was a housing authority project that's in the area between Chinatown and Lincoln Heights, where they have some grant fund monies that they need to expend on transit improvements prior to the end of this year. And so those locations are in Council District 1, and they're at the intersection of Main Street and Ann Streets in that part of town. And so we added those locations to the list for Council District 1, and they were fine with those additions. In addition to that, there was a project that's occurring on Melrose Avenue in CD5, and so we added a couple of additional locations for that. It's another grant-funded project that has an expenditure deadline, and so we wanted to accommodate that request as well. For Council District 11, there were a couple locations that kind of came up for discussion after our December meeting, primarily in Pacific Palisades area. So at the request of Council District 11, we have deleted those locations on our list, and it just reduces that overall list by a total of 3 locations. So between the additions and those deletions, actually we're in the +1 category for the list. And so today we come before the board to ask for you to approve the list and to provide us with permission to move forward with the installations in the upcoming year.
Thank you very much, Lance. Very thorough, and I'm very glad that you guys went back to the new council offices and just reconfirmed, the locations were what we wanted as a city. So thank you for that. Any questions, colleagues? Seeing none. Any objections? Hearing none. Is there a motion on the table to move item number 5 forward and forthwith? Dr. Davis, was that you? Dr. Davis first. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Corson. TJ Knight, there's a first by Dr. Davis and a second by Commissioner Corson to approve item number 5 forward and forthwith.
Very good. We'll take a roll call vote, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corson.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
And all ayes, and the item is approved unanimously forthwith.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Lance, for your report and for your time. Looking forward to seeing that coming up. And I think you're here for the next item too,
I
right?
am, so I'll
Give us a
stay right
minute.
here.
We're going to take public comment first. We're moving on to item number 6. This is an all-council district. Amendment number 1, Martin Outdoor Media LLC Bus Bench Program Annual Review. And we do have a in-person speaker, Arnold Sachs.
Correct. If Mr. Sachs would please come up to the podium, you'll have 2 minutes to offer your commentary.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Arnold Sachs. This is the 9th, 10th, and 11th annual review of the City of Los Angeles Bus Bench Program. I'm wondering, is Metro involved in this bus bench revenue program? The years, are they based on a fiscal year or a calendar year? We're at the end of the fiscal year for 2022. Fiscal year is going to end in June. Next fiscal year start in June 1st, 2023, and go to the end of May 2024. So will they have a review? Is on-site media? I see on-site media on some of these bus benches. What about the graffiti? Who's doing the graffiti cleanup? Some of these benches are covered with graffiti. There's trash again around all these places. Who's doing the review? There is no budget for this item. Again, there's no budget. Why is there no budget for this item? And again, how many bus benches are included in this? It's just some common sense questions. I'm sure some people already know, but I don't think a lot of public people know. And I hear that money is going into the council district office. Why isn't it being turned back and used to clean up the sidewalks, the graffiti, and the mess There's places that are destroyed. There's places that don't have trash cans. There's trash littered. If you go outside on Spring Street and Temple, right here, you'll see trash littered all over the ground because people dig through the trash and make a mess. And nobody seems to give a shit. And it's crazy. It's gotten 10 times
2
worse
minutes.
over the last 3 years.
And going back to our virtual attendees on the Zoom platform, if there's anyone who would wish to offer commentary upon this item, please raise your hand and unmute yourself, identify yourself, and you'll have 2 minutes to offer commentary. And seeing no hands raised, that concludes public commentary.
Thank you, TJ. We officially closing public comment for item number 6. Lance, come back to the board. I'm going to read into the record the recommendations, recommending the board to 1, receive and file this report regarding 9th, 10th, and 11th annual review of the City of Los Angeles Bus Bench Program, and 2, authorize the president or 2 commissioners of the Board of Public Works to execute number 1 to contract between City of Los Angeles and Martin Outdoor Media, LLC. And this morning we have Mr. Lance Ushini once again. Good morning, sir. Welcome.
Good morning. Lance Owishi with the Bureau of Street Services once again to report on this particular item. Before you today is our board report for our annual, and I put in air parentheses, annual reports because we have not been able to actually show up to board meetings on an annual basis. So we're trying to get caught up during the COVID years right now and just provide the board with a general update on where the program is at. Our contract with Martin Outdoor Media was actually signed in October 2011, and so we are now in the 11th year of the program. We actually started the program year, to answer Mr. Sachs' question, in January of 2012. So that was the first year of the program. So that's why we're in year 11 of the program right now. Martin Outdoor Media continues to be an outstanding contractor for us. Right now, they maintain over 6,000 benches for us and 2,000 trash receptacles. And they continue to provide that service day in and day out to the city. They are actually in the process of expanding the number of bus benches that we have in the city by another 750. I believe that we've installed an additional 300 benches beyond the 6,000 originally contemplated by the contract. And so we're still working with Martin Outdoor Media to install the remaining 450 benches that they have committed to provide to the city. You know, one of the things that happened that we mentioned since we last reported to the board is COVID and the effects of COVID. And really it did drastically alter the program. Transit ridership patterns changed. For a while there wasn't anybody out there. We actually had asked Martin Outdoor Media during that initial onset of the pandemic to get out there and actually double their maintenance visits to our benches. So they're out there basically 4 times a week, not only just cleaning the benches, but also wiping them down and disinfecting it. You know, the company actually had to lay off several people during the pandemic because of the reduction in sales. They also had to put several people on furlough. I'm glad to say that most of that staff has been rehired again, and so they're back in business, not quite to the pre-pandemic levels, but they are on a road to recovery, I would say. Martin continues with to us, it's an outstanding service. You know, as the contract manager, one of the things that we get is, you know, all the concerns that are raised by different citizens, and a lot of them may have to deal with unhoused encampments, a lot of it may be with litter, graffiti, a lot of the things that you heard mentioned before. And I can say without a doubt that when we've raised these concerns with Martin Outdoor Media, their operations team has been outstanding, and they've responded to these requests within hours. Sometimes some of their employees are stopping off these locations after they've finished their work shift to take care of these locations on their way back home. And so we know that they've been a good partner for us. You know, they also continue to hire from formerly incarcerated individuals, and I know that since the contract started, they've hired over 40 of those type of individuals to you know, prevent anti-recidivism, if I can get that out correctly. The other thing that happened actually in the last couple of years is that Metro did what they call a next-gen study where they realigned a lot of their bus routes. This caused a rearrangement of bus stops, I guess is the best way to put it. And with many lines being reduced or relocated, bus stops being relocated, Martin and Outdoor Media took it upon themselves to go ahead and make those adjustments for us, which was an extra step, quite frankly. They needed to move around over 300 of our benches, find new homes for them. The other thing that also happened, as you know, is we went through a census study back in 2020. And so that resulted in the moving of certain boundaries of council district lines. And our contract has a provision that mandates that Martin Outdoor Media maintain at least 300 benches in each council district. And so when those council district lines moved around, it actually dropped bus bench counts below 300 in two of the council districts. And so that combined with these the shifting of the bus routes by Metro caused Martin Outdoor Media to actually have to scramble and move around additional benches. But I'm happy to say that Martin Outdoor Media successfully was able to reallocate benches, and so that all of our council districts now have 300 benches as a minimum. So we continue to work with MOM, and sorry, that's their acronym, Martin Outdoor Media. I call them MOM for short, near and dear to my heart. But one of the things they also took upon themselves during the pandemic was to help us address Executive Directive number 5 under the Garcetti administration, which is the New Green Deal. And as part of that New Green Deal, the Bureau of Street Services committed itself to increasing shade and shelter out in the city streets. And so as a result of that, in actually May of 2020, we pursued a workshop, a design workshop for shade structures that will work in conjunction with our bus benches, with Martin Outdoor Media and Christopher Hawthorne, formerly with the mayor's office. And we actually retained several different design firms to come up with shade structures, concepts that we were then, we selected and vetted during the summer of 2020. Then we ran into the problem of trying to find money to build these shade structures. And so we've been working on that, that part of the puzzle, and we were able to actually secure monies actually in 2021. We started writing this board report actually in early 2022. And so we brought it together with the annual report with this amendment that we had to negotiate before you today as well. And so the amendment allows us actually to work with Martin Outdoor Media to fabricate and install and maintain and operate shade structures on the city's behalf. And so we're asking for approval of that the board receive and file the annual report, as well as to approve the amendment. And I just want to make a note that I have with me today Randall Smith, who is the CEO of Martin Outdoor Media, and so he's also available if there are any questions of the company itself.
Thank you, Mr. Cini, for your report, and welcome Mr. Randall from Martin Outdoor Media to our chambers. Any questions, colleagues, on this item? Dr. Davis?
Thank you for the report today. And in terms of the maintenance of the various benches that we currently have in our infrastructure, how are we managing those to date?
So per the contract requirements, Martin Outdoor Media is required to visit each bench at least twice a week. And so we understand that they do that. We do periodic spot checks to ensure that that's happening. They also have what we call a list of hot spots, and these are locations that require more visits than just twice a week. Some of those locations get visits by Martin Outdoor Media technicians 5 or 6 times a week. And so I'm not sure what the exact count of the hotspot locations are, but I know it's in the hundreds. And so they are out there, and when they visit our benches, they're cleaning up graffiti, removing stickers, removing trash and litter. Again, we maintain over 2,000 trash receptacles through the Martin Outdoor Media program, so those receptacles are also serviced. There's also power washing that happens, so when the sidewalk area or the bench itself gets, dirty to a certain point where it just, needs that type of service, Martin Outdoor Media does power wash our benches. Each location gets power washed at least once a year. We do power wash other locations on a more frequent basis. As I mentioned earlier, the unhoused challenges of the city do affect our program. Some locations, the individuals that are encamped there are very cooperative, and when Martin Outdoor Media's technicians arrive, they get themselves out of the way, allow Martin Outdoor Media to clean our benches, and you know, everybody keeps on going on, and they return to the bench after the location. In some locations, though, it's a little more challenging when the individual does not vacate the premises, and especially if the individual is combative or aggressive in any particular manner or means. Martin Outdoor Media's technicians are instructed to, you know, back away to de-escalate the situation, and they will continue to return to the bench until the individual either leaves. We've been working with the UHRC, which if I remember that right, it's the Unified Homeless Command Center, with the mayor's office to address those unhoused encampments as well. And so in combination of doing that and working with Martin Outdoor Media, we've been able to address most of those conditions to enable transit patrons to use our bus benches once again.
Great. I was glad to hear that we use the opportunity economically to hire people in the city to help do that work. How does it work in terms of identifying those who might have an opportunity to work to clean up the benches? How do we select them? And I guess I wanted to know, to what degree might we be able to expand that opportunity to the appropriate people who might be unhoused to be included in these economic opportunities that this project might present?
So I know that Martin Outdoor Media works with several different nonprofit organizations to hire and retain staff that you know, work under operations. I don't have the names of those organizations at hand. I believe that someone like Chrysalis. Randy, maybe you can help me out here a little bit, but I know that they do look at every opportunity to hire locally. I'm not sure about if we're working with agencies that specifically address the unhoused population, but again, Martin Outdoor Media is looking for those opportunities, and their staff, quite frankly, are comprised of people that are all local. They have, I think, 30 people right now that are doing their operations as technicians for us. And I got to say that their lead technician, Giovanni Morales, has just been fantastic to work with. Again, another local gentleman that they hired and continues to provide excellent service.
Sure, thank you, and I appreciate that effort that the company is putting towards sharing that economic opportunity with citizens in the city, and I think that's a great value.
If it's okay with you, I'll let Randy kind of jump in here.
Commissioner Davis and Commissioner Garcia, nice to see you again after many years. Haven't been here for 30 years, I think. I just wanted to add that you asked the question about some of the organizations, and a couple of organizations we work with are the Anti-Recidivism Coalition and another organization called Chrysalis. We started this program back in 2013, frankly, as an experiment to see how it would work, and it's been rewarding. There's nothing more important for an individual who has come out of prison to have a job and to be reinforced of his value.
Sure.
And it's just been something that we're now into it for 10 years. I like to say we were country before country was cool. Yes. But those are two of the organizations we work with. There are some other entities that in the past 2 or 3 years have recognized this need and are coming into to this area. But those are the two we've worked with in the past.
My final comment is around the objective of providing shade and shelter, and you implemented this program initially, I guess, under the Garcetti administration, and of course it feeds into some of the goals that were set under the New Deal. So in terms of shade and shelter, how have we been able to achieve that, particularly in some of our urban areas where we know senior citizens are there, particularly in the summer, having to sit, until the buses come, but yet the shade and shelter becomes critically important for many of the citizens who are going to use shelters. How have we been able to achieve shade and shelter in some of the areas?
So I'll say that we haven't achieved it yet, but we're working on it. This amendment is one of those mechanisms that'll help us to achieve that goal. But what we have done actually leading up to this is we did a study, actually several studies, where we were able to map out where all the bus stops are at. And then we ranked all the bus stops that are presently without a shelter canopy based upon 5 different criteria. Number 1 is how busy the bus stop is, how many people are getting on a bus there every day. Number 2 is their exposure to heat. And so with the warming climate, we know that that's going to be a challenge in the upcoming years. Number 3 is actually their proximity to regional local trip generators, including things like senior congregant centers. So if a bus stop was within a quarter mile of such facilities, it received a higher score, so to speak. And then lastly, it's actually the long wait time. So if a person is waiting at a bus stop for 30 minutes versus 5 minutes, they're going to need a shelter more than someone wait for 5 minutes. So when we worked with Metro directly on this, we actually accessed one of Metro's consultants to help us crunch all that data together and develop a priority scoring system. So we have all the bus stops presently within the city that do not have shelters ranked with either a priority 1, 2, 3, or 4 score, with priority 1 and 2 being the bus stops that actually require shade and shelter the most. And so those are the locations that we're actually going to be focusing on, placing these shade structures built through this program and also the sidewalk and transit amenities program moving forward to ensure that we are addressing those concerns.
Now, finally, we in the shelter business are providing opportunities for advertisement, correct? Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so the dollars that are generated for advertisement on these shelters, how does that money flow in terms of how it is back into the economy?
Sure. So for transit shelters right now, there's an administrative code section that mandates that 50% of the revenues from that program go into the general fund. And so they're expended on, in the general fund on many, many different programs overall. And 50% of the revenues are actually placed into a fund called the Street Furniture Revenue Fund that is controlled by the City Council. And that Street Furniture Revenue Fund is used for transit-related purposes primarily. So funding buses and they can do streetscape improvements and different type of projects that improve the transit experience. For the bus bench program, because it is a separate program, 100% of the revenues generated from the bus bench program are provided to the general fund. And so again, those monies are distributed throughout the city through the general fund. So yeah, that's where the monies are directed to.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Vice President Villegas?
Thank you. Thank you, Lance, for your report. You're always so thorough. Appreciate it. Just have a few questions. I appreciated the information that you included on here about the review from NextGen. And I noted on there if the bus benches by MOM are GPSed, but I see that they're barcoded.
Right.
And so it's at least a good tool to have. I see in your report you listed that it's good to know where you're visiting to do more cleanups, and so you know that that's a hot spot.
Right.
And so just wondering if the cleanup of those will be compensated with just additional advertising on their benches.
So the, excuse me, the advertising panels on the benches are preset. It's 14 square foot panels. And so, no, Martin Outdoor Media does not display any additional advertising to provide additional services. It's all inclusive as part of their contract. They are required to meet specific maintenance standards detailed in the contract, regardless of how often they need to, return to the site to clean it up and keep to those contract standards. There is a provision within the contract that if maintenance gets so out of hand that, Martin Outdoor Media is not able to properly maintain a site to that standard, they can talk to us and we can relieve them of that ability to have a bench at that location. It's happened at several locations, primarily where we've had homeless encampments set up and where we're not able to, properly maintain the bench. And so those conditions, we would remove the bench.
So they've talked to you about like problem areas to figure out how to fix them?
Most definitely, yeah. We work collaboratively together. We talk with their operations staffs almost on a daily basis. Again, we're receiving concerns from citizens via emails, telephone calls, on our webpage. And so as soon as we receive those type of concerns, we are talking to their staff and trying to address those concerns.
Okay, I appreciate that. And thanks for, if you can just walk us through the table that you have on your report, just for revenue generating for, I guess, for years 2022 and then 2023. I guess you don't have a projected percentage just yet.
Sure, yeah, so our contract works, we receive 2 payments for our contract. One is an upfront contract at the beginning of the calendar year, so that's why we receive it in January. It's what we call our minimum annual guaranteed fee. And this is a fee that the Martin Outdoor Media pays to us regardless of how the program is performing. The second fee that we receive is actually what they call a percentage fee. And that is actually tabulated at the end of a year based upon the gross revenue receipts. And in accordance with the contract, we receive the higher of either that minimum annual guaranteed fee or the percentage fee. And so what happens is if the percentage fee is higher than what Martin Outdoor Media paid for us in January, then we receive the difference in April of the following year. And so what you see as far as the, I guess it'd be the 4th column in that table, where it says TBD and it says April 2023, we're still calculating Martin Outdoor Media's revenue receipts for 2022. And we expect to get accounting of that from Randy's team actually this upcoming month in March. And if that amount is higher than $360,000 that we received in January of 2022, then we'll get the balance of that.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. So then, did we get anything for, I mean, these were the pandemic years. It seems like we're just a couple of blanks here for year 9 and 10.
Yeah, so in year 10, there was you know, again, we were in the middle of the pandemic at that point. We're actually going to come back to the board with a follow-up supplemental report that will talk about that particular year. And, you know, because it does involve a contractual mechanism, for the force majeure clause of the contract. And so that will be before the board for a discussion at a later date.
Okay. Okay. And will that include year 10 also, or just year 9?
It'll talk about both year 9 and year 10, yes.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you. I don't have any other questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Vice President Villegas. Any other questions, colleagues? Commissioner Reyes.
Just a question, is there a nexus to the tree planting so that it can add additional shade opportunities when those benches are, you know?
No, there are, and this, I'm not smiling because our urban forestry team works right next to Audrey and I in the office, so we're talking to them all the time. But no, yeah, there are opportunities for us to plant trees, and there are programs that are funded to provide those trees. We do try to coordinate the placement of trees within the bus stop zones. And it's something that actually is part of the overall concept that we're trying to promote, is for the city to do a better job of making bus stops themselves a fully thought out plan for improvement within the right-of-way versus how it's been treated in the past, which is kind of as an afterthought. You know, the street is created, the bus stop is plopped down there, then we come down at some point later to try to squeeze a bench or a transit shelter at that location. So we're trying to work with transit operators like Metro, LA Dot, Santa Monica Big Blue Bus to actually come up with a coordinated effort to improve bus stops, and that includes not only just providing shelter and shade via our programs, but also where the opportunities exist for us to plant trees to increase that shade. And that's actually another part, it's not part of my program, but it's part of the Bureau's commitment for that ED, Executive Directive 25 goal to provide additional shade and shelter out there, was for the Bureau to actually plant trees, additional trees in conjunction with our transit furniture.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that that's in the plan because of our climate changes that we're experiencing.
Most
and
definitely.
The vulnerable communities that are really underserved and they need those amenities. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion on the table to move item number 6 forward and forthwith?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Corson. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. TJ Knight, there's a first by Commissioner Corson and a second by Dr. Davis to move item number 6 forward and forthwith.
Very good. We'll take a roll call vote, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corson.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes, and the item is approved forthwith.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting a request from one of our commissioners to take a 5-minute break, if possible, so we're going to pause for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Test, test, test. Test, 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 test. Here we go.
All right, everyone, welcome back to our regularly scheduled meeting for the Board of Public Works on March 1st, 2023. Thank you all for your patience, for your time, and for still being here hanging on with us. In the spirit of interruptions, on March 1st, we had just another one. We thank you all again for your patience, but we're back on track. So moving on to item number 7, and before I'm going to read the title into the record, and then I'm going to call for public comment on item number 7. This is an advisement number 1 in Council District 9 for an emergency nuisance abatement of vacant lot 116 East 59th Place. We do have public comment, which is Mr. Arnold Sachs. Is he still here?
Yes, we do. If Mr. Sachs is in the room, please approach the podium and you'll have 2 minutes to offer your comment. Second call for Mr. Sachs. Last call for Mr. Sachs. He is not in the room at this time.
Okay, Mr. Sachs is not longer in the room. And is there any public comment via virtual platform?
Let me check. And there are no attendees in our virtual platform at this time, President Garcia.
Very well. Moving on then. Public comment for item number 7 is now officially closed. Again, this is an emergency nuisance abatement of vacant lot 116 East 59th Place, recommending the board to 1, approve the Bureau of Street Services request to clean a nuisance property located at 116 East 59th Place under an emergency declaration, and 2, request the city attorney to review the emergency request and approve as to form and legality to the city clerk. And this is a continued item from Wednesday, February 15 to Wednesday, February 22nd, and we want to hear any update that has been conducted under this request. So I'm going to turn it over to you, TJ Knight, but I know we have Chief Harris here, perhaps also, and was it Craig Shaw that was supposed to be here for this item? Okay, so perhaps, Mr. Harris, you can give us a brief update on what's going on the ground, and then I'll also turn it over to TJ Knight. TJ?
Thank you, Madam President. Or if you like, I can go first, and then if you have questions for Chief Harris.
Okay.
So I do have an update, and that is that the executive officers communicated that last week he served notice to the property owner to abate the nuisance. Also, he worked with Council District 2 to secure a hearing date at City Council, which has been confirmed as Wednesday, March 22nd. For this week, we will place the order for the posters for public posting and request our partner enforcement agency, Bureau of Street Services, to complete posting and provide photo documentation. And from there, the group will convene to discuss strategy.
Thank you very much. That's a very good update. Chief Harris, anything you want to add?
Yeah, good morning. I should say good afternoon. Gary Harris on behalf of Streets LA. We did reach out to our partners in the Bureau of Sanitation, and they in turn reached out to LASA, and LASA has agreed to provide outreach. We don't have a date yet. We'll follow up and get that date, but LASA will be going out to the property, providing outreach, hopefully prior to the hearing date. And yes, we have communicated that we will complete the posting and photo documentation as soon as the signs are fabricated.
Great. I love that update as well. So it looks like we're moving along on this property, and we'll have some kind of a follow-up and a closure, cleanup pretty soon. Sounds that way.
Thank you.
So far. Okay, I'm going to continue, if it's okay with you, colleagues, to place it on next week's agenda as well, so that we have a constant oversight of what's the development happening in that lot, and want to make sure that we don't lose sight of that. So, DJ Knight, I'm going to ask if you can continue it for next week as well.
Very good. We will continue it to March 8th, 2023.
Okay. Item number 7 will be continued for March 8th, and this is to make sure that we have constant updates on this item. And I just want to confirm that Council District 9 is aware of where we're at? Okay.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
That they have been we have been communicating with them on our progress.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, colleagues, moving on to item number, well, we're not taking any action on this. Was there anybody that wanted to say or ask any questions on item number 7? Hearing none, thank you. Item number 7 is now continued to March 8th. Moving on to item number 8, this is a request from the Office of Community Beautification in Council District 11. And who's here on this item?
I was informed that Jerry Valito would present on this item.
I thought so too, I don't see him.
I do not see him in the room.
March 1st is just starting off great. Okay, Mr. Valito is not here. I am going to continue this item, and I see him completely walking in. Mr. Valito, as you take on your stride through our red carpet here, I'm going to read this into the record, and then I'll pass it over to you. But first, I'm going to take any public comment. Is there any public comment for item number 8 in our virtual platform?
Let me double check, President Garcia. I see one attendee. If there are any attendees who would like to offer public comment on item number 8, please unmute yourself at this time. Identify yourself, identify your name for the record, and you'll have 2 minutes to offer public comment. Attendee Sam Rubin, would you like to offer comment?
Oh, hello. My name's Sam Rubin with Palisades Pride. I'm here. Should you have any questions, Jerry's going to present the request before the committee, so I'll let him lead off and take questions if you have any for me, please.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Rubin. And that concludes public comment for item number 8.
Thank you, TJ Knight. Public comment for item number 8 is now officially closed. I'll read it into the record, and then I'll pass it over to you, Mr. Valito. This is a request from the Office of Community Beautification in Council District 11, encroachment in the public right-of-way, Palisades Pride, Council District 11, recommending the board to 1, grant revocable permission to encroach within the public right-of-way subject to listed conditions. 2, Palisades Pride, encroachment installation of benches, trash receptacles, and a mini green, aka triangular median improvement, at the following locations. All locations are located in Pacific Palisades in Council District 11. Locations are listed on our public agenda, items A through K. And with that, no, there's still more. Recommending the board to issue no fee revocable permit for work to be performed. Recommendation number 3, issue a no fee A permit for work to be performed. And 4, request the Bureau of Contract Administration to provide a no fee inspection of the project. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Valito.
Thank you, President Garcia. Good morning, Commissioners, Mr. Assistant Executive Officer, and Mr. City Attorney. Jerry Valito, Assistant Director with the Office of Community Beautification. I am presenting before you today a project that has been highly anticipated for over a year. The community group Palisades Pride has been the organization responsible for installation and maintenance of street furniture projects throughout the Pacific Palisades since 2008. In order to better serve the community, they have once again stepped forward to satisfy this need. 15 years ago, the city authorized this group to install benches and trash receptacles in 27 different locations throughout the Pacific Palisades. Today, the request is again being made for the board to authorize the installation of benches, trash receptacles, and a mini green triangular median improvement at the aforementioned 11 locations. Palisades Pride has agreed to adopt and maintain the improvements. The Adopt Median Project Plan has been reviewed and approved by the Bureau of Engineering, and Palisades Pride shall adhere to the conditions as provided in the approval. Adoption of this project is therefore requested in order that we may move to the permitting phase of this process. And this concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Valito. Any questions for Mr. Valito on this item? Seeing none, is there any objections? Hearing none, is there a motion on the table to move item number 8 forward and forthwith?
So,
I'll take a first by VP and a second by Commissioner Reyes. TJ, there's a first by Vice President Villegas and a second by Commissioner Reyes to move item number 8 forward and forthwith.
Very good, and we'll take a roll call vote, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas. President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corsand.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes, and the item is approved unanimously and forthwith.
Thank you, TJ. Thank you, Mr. Valido.
Great. Thank you, Commissioners.
Moving on to item number 9, this is a request from the Bureau of Sanitation and Bureau of Contract Administration in all council districts for a personal service contract, Clean Harbors Environmental Service, Inc., recommending the board to, 1, give me 1 second, sir, Mr. Park, I'm going to call for public comment. Is there anybody, public comment in the virtual platform?
There are no attendees in the virtual platform.
Got it. Public comment for item number 9 is now officially closed. Mr. Park, welcome. Let me just read the recommendations, and then I turn it over to you. Recommending the board to, 1, approve and forward this report with transmittals to the mayor and city council with the request that the Board of Public Works be authorized to execute a personal service contract with the Clean Harbors Environmental Service, Inc. for Task A, Residential Special Materials Program, and Task B, Hazardous Waste Routine and Emergency Field Services. And 2, upon the mayor's and council's authorization, the president or 2 members of the board will execute the contract. And this afternoon, we have Mr. Park. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, President Garcia, Commissioner Villegas, Commissioner Davis, Commissioner Corsand, Commissioner Reyes, and the Bureau representatives. My name is John Park from the Solid Resources Citywide Recycling Division. LACEN designated me as a program manager for the hazardous waste management contract. The ceiling of this contract is $432.8 million for 11 years. And this contract consists of 2 tasks, Task A and Task B. The Task A is for recycling operation exclusively for safe centers by Solid Resources Citywide Recycling Division. 30% of the contract ceiling is dedicated to Task A. Task B is for routine and emergency hazardous waste field services administered by Livability Service Division and Watershed Protection Division. 70% of the contract ceiling is allocated to Task B. The contract RFP process started in 2018, and the board approved the RFP release in April 2021. The board authorized us to negotiate the final terms. On July 29, 2021, we received three proposals. They were Clean Earth, Clean Harbors, and U.S. Ecology. Clean Harbors and Clean Earth initially submitted their proposal for Task A and B. Later on, Clean Earth withdrew from the Task B. U.S. Ecology submitted its proposal to Task B only. During the proposal evaluation and negotiation, my staff reviewed every page of the terms and conditions of each proposal fairly and thoroughly. Proposals were allowed to resubmit their rates due to poor economic conditions caused by pandemic. Besides technical capacity, we extensively evaluate the operation cost for 11 years. Clean Harbors labors and mobilization costs are lower than its competitors by 30%, and their disposal costs is lower by 10 to up to 300% in some waste in Task A. In Task B, Clean Harbors labor and mobilization costs are lower by 20 to 40%. Disposal costs are lower by 20 to 50% than its competitors. During the final negotiation, Clean Harbors offered an extra 5% discount on the disposal cost, 3.5 payment discounts within 45 days of corrective invoices, and additionally, 3.5% volume discount over 27 million combined annual billing. In conclusion, LACN recommend that the board award the contract to Clean Harbors. I'm happy to answer any concerns and questions.
Thank you, Mr. Park, for your report. Any questions, colleagues? Commissioner Reyes?
There is an ability for our other bureaus to participate in this program, should it be needed, if there's hazardous waste that need to be collected.
Yes, this under Task B, other bureaus, sanitation bureaus can use this contract.
And in terms of, in the past, how has that participation looked like?
By the other bureaus?
Yes.
Or the treatment plant has used this contract to dispose of their hazardous waste, and also wastewater use this contract to dispose.
I'm thinking, are other bureaus, like street services, street lighting, are they using this contract? Should there be hazardous waste that need to be collected in the scope of their work?
This current contract, yes, they were piggybacking. We are allowed to piggyback, but new contract, we are not allowed to piggyback our contract. But however, we offer the RFP to create their own contract.
So they piggyback, in essence?
They were allowed to use our RFP to make their own contract, not the piggyback.
Okay. So one other question. Do you have additional information that you need to? Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioner Reyes. Domingo
Yes.
Orozco, Assistant Division Manager with Livability Services Division. Under Task B for Health Hazard Support, Livability Services generally supports every city department with health hazard removal at any sort of operation that we conduct. With that, then, Clean Harbors provides that critical essential service to us under this contract as it's existing, and then under this new one that we're proposing. We hope that this moves forward so that we can continue this process with council, as it's a critical function for us as we provide support citywide. I believe also Rec and Parks has their own component and contract separately with Clean Harbors, as well as I believe LAPD does as well. So I believe that there's enough citywide coverage. And then what we do in livability with homeless encampment cleanup services, that we provide that support citywide as well.
It's good to know. And my other question is, I know that there is an increase in hazardous waste, right, that are illegally dumped. What are we doing in terms of education and awareness for the public so that they avoid doing that? Is that part of
That's
the?
part of Task
Okay,
B.
the scope? Go ahead.
Good afternoon again, Commissioner Reyes. With the illegal dumping program for livability services, we handle the collection and remediation of that material. When we're looking at hazardous material that's illegally dumped or placed in public right-of-way or public areas, we work with our sister agency or our sister division within sanitation, Watershed Protection. They'll do an investigation and any enforcement follow-up, working with the city attorney's office on how to remediate or find the responsible parties or actors for that action. As far as our outreach and engagement and education with our constituency and our ratepayers and the general public at large, we work through our office to make sure that everyone within the region is fully aware of all of the services that we provide, as well as the actions they can take to be good actors, and how we will work with city attorney for follow-up and refer any cases that are identified for that action for follow-up for prosecution. The city attorney's office would then identify who is prosecutable or not.
Okay, thank you for that information.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. Dr. Davis?
Yes, I wanted to, I guess, focus on this residential special materials. In terms of the contract, what is the time frame of what we are proposing for executing this personal services contract? How long is the scope of this?
This is an 11 years contract, so starting November 2023.
It started from November 2020?
2023.
Oh, 2023, great. And in terms of the services that will be provided under residential special materials, it will include our existing facilities, does it also include the field projects that you do? And when I say that, I mean we have done outreach at various locations in the city, and I think we've collaborated with various council offices to do that. Does this particular contract also include providing resources for the coordination of those field projects in the city as well?
Yes, it is. It's a part of that residential special material program.
Okay.
Yes.
So that is a part of this?
Part of it,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Vice President Villegas?
Thank you. Thank you for your report. And just a few questions. I'm struck by the amount of money that we're going to be spending on this. It's a $432 million contract as a personal service contract, and wanting more time, to understand this. Is there a project labor agreement? Is there other businesses that they're going to be working with? Aside from this personal service contract, they're also on emergency services, because Clean Harbor does work across the United States. I'm concerned that we're giving this amount of business to one entity and not spreading the amount to others. So I would propose to continue this item for at least 1 week so that we clearly know what's before us. I just feel it's too large for us to, first of all, put it on as a personal service contract. But I need to know more information. I do not feel comfortable at this time going forward.
I totally understand.
Understood, Vice President Villegas.
Thank you.
Are you requesting a continuation for 1 week?
Yes, and I will ask, is that okay with you? Obviously, I can just say it, but I do want to respect your timeline as well.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. We can do a 1 week continuance.
Okay. And in addition, I'm going to also say the same thing too that I told the Clark's folks. Please reach out on something as huge as this. You should have reached out specifically to my office and really briefed me as the president. But I want to talk about the business inclusion numbers here. I see Clean Harbors is just below our goal status. Is that correct?
Mary, would you answer that?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Mary Benson, and I specifically focus on BIP participation in the schedules for the contracts for our group. One of the things that has changed since the drafting of the board report is IQ personnel has regained their MBE status. One of the reasons, though, that the BIP participation is below what this board will normally see in terms of a contract is because of the number of available contractors that will handle or are regulated, permitted, and trained to handle hazardous waste. Over 80% of the ramp listings for that type of contractor is consultants only. They do not handle the waste. So even at the very reduced rate of contractors in the hazardous waste NCIS categories, only 20% of those actually handle hazardous waste. And one of the things that, as a personal services contract, Clean Harbors is providing that does account for the large amount is that they handle both collection and transportation and disposal of hazardous waste out of the state. There are very few disposal facilities within the state, and those costs, of course, have increased substantially. The other thing is the volume of increase. Our contracts did not include the volume and the scope of field services that this contract now includes. So it's kind of a combination of two really separate functions and divisions within sanitation. Thank you, if that answers your questions.
It does. Thank you, Ms. Benson, for that. Go ahead, Dr. Davis.
I wanted to ask, ma'am, I noticed that you've talked about various variables that exist in this whole process of considering vendors for this particular task. Is Clean Harbors the only vendor that is a local business enterprise?
We had, Clean Earth is also a registered LBE. The other bidder, US Ecology, is not and did not qualify for the local business percentage increase. Of the two, one of the major reasons for selecting Clean Harbors for this contract is the cost and also the capacity. Clean Harbors was the only bidder that had its own disposal, out-of-state disposal facilities. So even though a Clean Harbors could perform the collection and transportation, they would still have to go to Clean Harbors for the disposal out of state. And as a result of that, Clean Harbors has, as John mentioned, really given us additional volume and discount percentages on that disposal, really favoring us above any other disposer that they do business with at those facilities.
Have we done work with any of the other vendors other than Clean Harbor? We have a long existing relationship and history with them, but have we ever engaged in work with the others or at any time?
Prior to 2010, Clean Earth acquired a facility that we had our contracts with, UPC, and those contracts expired in 2009, which really was a combination of 6 contracts rather than this one combined contract. So we'll go into further discussion and explaining that at a future briefing.
Sure, great.
Very well. Just I want to remind, the group that at a contract at this large, if you can make the practice of reaching out to each of the commissioners to brief them, it's just a really large ticket item, and we always want to make sure that we're signing off on something we feel comfortable in. And just to remind, we could get brief, each and one of us, we just can't get brief together. Okay, just want to make sure that that's clear. So we are going to continue item number 9 to next Wednesday, March 8th, to give time for our commissioners to get fully embedded in this contract and feel comfortable moving it forward, if that's the case. Thank you very much. Thank you guys. Sorry about keeping you guys here. Now you guys can have lunch. My apologies.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
moving on to item number, that's as is. TJ, thank you very much. I'll see you guys next Wednesday. TJ, we're going to continue this item to Wednesday, March 8th.
Very good. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 10, this is a release stop notice for Western Rentals. I do not believe we have anybody on the queue to do public comment, right?
That is correct. For 10 and 11, it's just communications.
Got it. All right, this is a release stop notice, Western Rentals. Western Rentals is transmitting a release of stop notice in the amount of $4,984.94 for heavy equipment rentals for Joke Heavy Construction, Inc., in connection with the emergency project Mannix Drive 8230 and 8275 Bulkhead. The primary contractor is Joke Heavy Construction, Inc. Is there a second on the is there a second to my motion to adopt item number 10?
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Corson, TJ Knight, there's a first by me and a second by Commissioner Corson to adopt item number 10.
Very good, and we'll take a roll call vote on item number 10, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas. President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corson.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes, and motion is received.
Thank you very much, Jay, for that. Moving on to item number 11, this is a release of stop notice, Western Rentals. Western Rentals is transmitting a release of stop payment notice in the amount of $2,956.50 for heavy equipment rentals in connections with the sidewalk repair program access request acceleration package number 57. The primary contractor is Jilk Heavy Construction, Inc. Is there a second to my motion to adopt item number 11?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. TJ, there's a first by me and a second by Commissioner Reyes to adopt item number 7.
Item number 11. Yes, very good. We'll take a roll call vote, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas. President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corsan.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes, and the item is approved unanimously.
Thank you very much. And to our last and final report here is our oral reports. It's going to be Troy Eze reporting on sewer repair financial assistance program policy number 811, Bureau of Sanitation. You're quick. You were online, and then now you're here.
Yes, yes. Good afternoon, Commissioner President Garcia. Good afternoon, all commissioners. I'm just here to give a status update of our sewer lateral rebate program. So just to give you guys some quick background, the city has over 700,000 possible sewer lateral connections, with about 12% of them showing defects due to roots. This program essentially gives out rebates to applicants for videotaping their private sewer lateral within their property and also repairing their sewer lateral. So we give up to $1,300 per applicant who applies to CCTV their lateral or repair their lateral. Just to give you some quick stats as far as stats that we have as current stats as of today. The total number of applications we've received since the program started back in January 2022 is 115. The total number of approved applications we've had is 72, so we have about a 63% approval rate. Obviously, we're trying to keep improving these numbers. In the first round, we've approved a total of 26 applications, and in the second round, which began just July 1st, 2022, and it's currently starting as of right now, we've had a total of 46, so it's already more than the first round that we've had. So in total, we've given up about 72 approved applications in a total amount of $34,000 for the program so far. We are working with Public Affairs Office to booster our public outreach. We are currently doing a new news release that will be released to neighborhood councils throughout the city. And we're also working on sending out or updating our social media with announcement of the program as well. So we're working with our marketer and doing just that. And that pretty much concludes our update, and then answer any questions you guys might have regarding the program.
Thank you, Troy, for that, your report. Any questions for Troy?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, in terms of the implementation of the program, what have you observed about the patterns of accomplishment that we have been able to achieve? Have there been any gaps in terms of response from various areas of the city, to your knowledge?
It's a good question. We usually keep track of, so applicants typically apply through My LA 311, and we have an idea of council districts. I don't have those specific stats as far as council districts, but we are able to track how many applications we receive from each council district. As far as gaps, what I'm noticing is that sometimes when we have a list of things that we require for applications, such as you have to be in good standing with DWP, you have to submit a permit, sewer permit if you're repairing your lateral, an improved permit by City of LA inspector to ensure that the lateral was repaired according to our standards. So there are several things that applicants tend to miss out. For instance, if they're videotaping their lateral, they have to hire a plumber. The plumber has to list out the address in the beginning of the video to ensure that it is their property, and oftentimes plumbers forget to do that, and we can't give them any rebates because we're not sure that's their property. So a lot of the times we follow up with applicants to provide that information, and they don't, which is why sometimes we have to decline applicants. So just doing a better job of outreaching to all the plumbers out there, just letting them know about the program, our requirements, that could help fill in those gaps. But as far as the biggest gap I see is the volume of applicants we've been receiving. As I've told you, since the program started last year in July, we've only had a total of 46 applicants. And each fiscal year we have a new round. So this program is essentially supposed to go on for the next 30 years We have about 1.2 million we've allocated for each fiscal year for the program. So we, of course, we want to get these numbers up, which is why we're working closely with Public Affairs Office and our marketer to continue telling people about the program.
Have the city council offices been approached, or is that a part of our strategy to have them to also notify constituents in any way, or?
They have not been approached to my understanding. I know that as of right now, we have been in contact with the neighborhood councils. We send out newsletters, and that's what I mentioned. We're working on a new release. The newsletter pretty much summarizes the main point, summarizes the program and just tells them about the requirements of the program when we have open applications. So we've been in contact with neighborhood councils, and that's pretty much, as of right now, the bulk of how we send out the information regarding our program. But as far as council districts, or you mentioned council districts themselves, we have not been in contact with specific council members about the program yet, but it's just neighborhood councils.
As we look at our inventory of sewers, you mentioned that we have 700,000 collectively.
Yes.
And you said 12% of those tend to be ones that are challenging,
Due to
for
roots,
which
yes.
we need to do this work. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is there any factors that characterize the sewer systems in terms of, are some of the systems newer in certain areas of town than others, and or larger, or made of different materials that would cause us to have much more expeditious errors and need for repair than the other?
Yeah, there are certain areas of the city where the infrastructure is quite old. A lot of the times we have, to answer your question, yes, there are different types of material of pipes in certain areas of the city. Initially, when this program first started, our ideal was to target those specific areas that are older in infrastructure. However, due to Prop 218, we can't specifically target certain areas. Due to that, we have to make it open for all. So our strategy is to just, everybody is qualified for it. We can't specifically target the root areas where we see the biggest issues in the city, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was wanting to have it for information purposes, to have the knowledge for those of you who are administering the program as to what our expectations might be. So we do know that when we look at construction in this city, certain areas of town were constructed obviously earlier than others, and that as a result of that, we know that there may be some need for more repairs in that area. So as you talk about the strategy that you'll have to implement moving forward, that information would be critically important for you. So not so much as to give a preference, but as much as to have the information for us to strategically be prepared to effectively manage this, given the fact that at some point when you do get the information to constituents, they will begin to respond.
Right.
And we want to be prepared to be able to handle that. So that's the purpose of my question.
Noted. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Any other questions, colleagues? Seeing none. Thank you so much, and thank you for hanging in there with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a good
Have a good
afternoon.
rest of the afternoon. All right, colleagues, I think we have reached the end of our very bumpy start of March 1st. At TJ Knight, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, we have.
Great. It is 12:37 p.m. on March 1st, and this meeting's officially adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the day.
Let me get out of here
You.
before I get pneumonia.